Welcome to the My House podcast, a show about the past, present, and future goings-on at the My House Youth Drop-In Center in Wasilla, Alaska, with your host, Michelle Overstreet.
Hi, welcome to episode 7 of the My House podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Overstreet, and today I'm joined by Karl Soderstrom and Erin Kraus from True North Recovery, and I'm so excited to have them here. They're some of my favorite people, and the work we do in the community is just amazing. So we're gonna cut to Isaac real quick and then get to business.
Okay, so we have one major event that's going on in the month of May. It's the Rotary Cleanup. That is on, I think it's on Cinco de Mayo. So actually when this is releasing, it's probably already past that point, but I know there's still a lot of community effort. You know, it's just that springtimey time of year. So there's garbage bags available through various organizations around the valley. We're going to be cleaning up on the 5th of May, kind of in conjunction with the Rotary as an organization. So I guess this is just a reminder. Go out, clean up some trash.
Yeah, City of Wasilla has bags. They'll give you the yellow bags so that they're visible.
Helps when everyone pitches in, right? So that's the big community thing we're highlighting this week. On the podcast side of things, we will have had part 1 and part 2 of Alicia Buzz out by the time everyone's hearing this. So if you haven't listened to part 2 of Alicia Buzz's story, part 1 was pretty intense, but part 2 is where she really talks about her abuse but then also her escape from that situation.
On Redemption, the Redemption podcast.
Yep, correct. And then we have part 2 of My Voice coming out with one of our staff members that we highlighted, and kind of the same thing. Part 1 was pretty crazy. Part 2 is just even more of a wild ride. So I know we have people waiting for that one. That is going to be coming out Friday. So if you're hearing this, the day it releases 2 days from now. And Dyke Nonsense just released some episodes. Maybe the biggest thing that we have coming up is actually on the next episode of this show, of My House podcast. But I don't know how much I really want to spoil. Just know that 2 weeks from this release date, we're going to have a really big guest on. Probably the biggest guest we've had on any of the shows so far. So be looking out for that. I don't think I'm going to get too much more into it than that, but yeah, be looking for more updates and for that drop. I believe the day that it will be dropping is the 25th of May, that Wednesday. So be on the lookout for that.
Cool. Thank you, Isaac. Karl and Erin, welcome. So much fun to have you here. Karl, I'm just so proud of your success and all the things that are happening. You came to us as a college intern, and what a lucky day for all of us.
Well, certainly us, and it's really an honor to be here with you, Michelle. And a little reminiscing from the past is we are just super grateful for all that you've poured into our organization. And for those of you guys out there that don't know, our organization has 60 employees. We serve hundreds of clients all over the Mat-Su Valley in a ton of different behavioral health capacities, and it all started because Michelle believed in us. And so Michelle has continued to pour into our organization. And, at the end of the day, man, this is about changing the landscape of behavioral health, the services at My House, the services at True North. It's about saying, this isn't enough, we can do better, let's show up and help people. And so that's kind of been our mission. We tend to be a rowdy bunch, but we lean into everything we do with our hearts, and people see that and want to be a part of it.
I really love the peer support aspect of your organization, and I have from the beginning. When I said to you, and to be truthful, Karl came to me as a college intern to work with homelessness, and after a few weeks, I pulled him in my office and said, okay, homeless is not your jam, but I can see that you're passionate. What is it that you want to do? And he illustrated for me, told me all about this idea that he had about peer support and the McShin Foundation and getting training and eventually having a treatment program that was all run by people in long-term recovery, from the bookkeeper to the CEO to the care providers. And I said, let's do that then, because we so needed that. We were in the throes of getting the opioid task force up and running. That was in 2015. And we were asking for detox and all these different pieces that we needed in the community to keep people alive. And here comes this guy and this young man in long-term recovery saying, I'll do that. And it was awesome. It's been incredible. to watch you grow and to look at the way that you've developed your program based on client needs, listening to what the needs are of the clients and the changing landscape with opiates, with fentanyl now, and the pieces of that came together just to help hundreds and hundreds of people and to keep others safe with the Narcan kits and all the different things that have come out of that. So thank you for being willing to being a willing servant and for being willing to just put yourself out there. Awesome.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, and Erin's here with us, and she's been a part of this from the very beginning. This whole secret sauce is about community, right? It's creating an environment where we can be in connection with one another. I like I said, I am a person in long-term recovery, and for me that means today I get to be an employer, a partner, a friend, a son, and I haven't found it necessary to take a drink or a drug since April 20th of 2013, and my life has changed completely. But I also, want to recognize that no matter how far down the road we all go, we're all the same distance from the ditch, right? And so, for people that have substance use disorders or have mental health histories, we have to insulate ourselves from the world around us, and how we do that is creating a community. Mm-hmm. And so it's not about My House, it's not about True North, it's about our people coming together. When we first started this thing, we were doing exactly what we're doing here today. We were just talking about it. We're saying we can recover out loud. I got well, you can too. If you're listening to this and you're struggling, I got well, you can too, right? I'm not particularly smart. I'm not special in any way. You can do this, right? And where there's hope, where there's breath, there's hope. And so I encourage anybody out there that's got a loved one that's struggling, or if they're struggling themselves, don't let it be one day, but let today be your day one.
Love it. I love it. You started with Erin's husband, in fact, Kirby, and started with a little broadcast on Facebook called Fiend to Clean. Mm-hmm. And it just blew up. There were T-shirts that said sober, it's the new sexy that we couldn't keep in stock because people still come in and ask for those T-shirts. And they were such what I really love about what you've done, and I think it's stupefying, and if more communities could figure out how to do this, you're reducing the stigma. Mm-hmm. You're making sobriety cool, and you're bringing that into a venue like this where with homeless youth, that turns everything on its head. They come from organizations outside of our community where their culture is sneaking drugs in and talking about it behind everyone's back, to a culture where it's cool to be sober. And more than half of my staff is peer support certified under a model that you brought to Alaska. And I really feel like that's part of that community. That's the magic, is we have a community of people with long-term sobriety that are unapologetic, that have reduced the stigma so that there isn't such a secret, don't tell anybody, it's shameful, we don't tell anybody. No. We're doing a barbecue over in Leo Nunley Park and everybody's wearing their shirts and it's cool, right? And I just think it's opened up so many doors for people that I think it makes it so much easier to get sober and to be sober with these people who know that journey and will walk it with you. That's amazing.
Yeah, we've got to fight back. I mean, it's a different age than it was 20 years ago or 10 years ago. All of these social media platforms and music videos and what we see on TV is glorifying this culture that partying and using and acting a fool is cool. Right. What isn't highlighted is all the consequences of that. And so we've got a generation of people that have this ideal that they're going to feel a part of or be socially accepted or going to have a good time when they're out there running the streets and doing these things, But the reality is 17 people overdosed this month in our community. Multiple people passed away. We're not talking about the ramifications of that lifestyle. That's not in the music video, right? The come down, the detox, none of that's in there.
Right.
But this idea that we're going to have, this elaborate lifestyle. It's a facade, and unfortunately, our younger generations just don't see the truth. And so, a lot of our early efforts were to stand up and just talk about it. And we went to high schools and middle schools and just wherever we had an opportunity. And like you said, the T-shirts were a great platform. We were outside of Walmart selling T-shirts that say "sober." It's the new sexy. And the cool part about that was all the families and kids that we got to talk to that day and other days. We have to create a space where we can talk about trauma and struggles and the realities of that lifestyle, because too many kids are jumping into it and we're losing them. And we can do better.
Yeah. Erin, how are you? You're quiet. You can't get a word in edgewise, huh?
Oh, no, not normally. No, I'm so incredibly grateful for Michelle and My House and everything that they do. I see kids all the time out there, and I'm just like, go to my house. Like, I just want to yell it from the rooftops. And I think that the support from you, if it wasn't for you supporting Karl and his initial dream, we wouldn't be where we're at today, and we wouldn't be able to help all the people that we're helping. And we wouldn't now have a group of graduating clients who are now working as peer support for us. We wouldn't have any of that if it hadn't been for your support. And so I don't know if I've ever thanked you, but oh my gosh, thank you.
Oh my gosh, it's been my pleasure. Are you kidding? That right there, that piece right there. I was just in a meeting with somebody at the state level, and they said, how do you get people to come back and work in your organization and give back? We provide services, but then everybody goes away. We don't have youth that come back and advise us, and we don't have peer support people. And I said, you develop relationships with them and make it necessary for them to be in the building and to be part of the circle of recovery and forward momentum. They feel needed because they are. And I think that is a different posture than is maybe the norm.
It absolutely is. The American healthcare system does things to people, not for people, right? And what My House and True North does is do things with people.
Right.
Right? And when we change that landscape, we invite people to be a part of something. There isn't a us versus them mentality. There isn't a staff-client relationship. There's problems, and there's a team of people trying to solve them.
Right. That's a beautiful way to put that. And one of the things that I feel so joyous about is I periodically look up from something that I'm doing, and here comes two people from True North into my building and sit down with somebody who came in who says, and sometimes it's someone who's been here a couple times, and they recognize that they can't get housing and keep housing without getting clean and sober. So it might be somebody we've been working with for months or even years, and here comes this just total badass team from True North that sits down with them and goes, okay, how can we help you get sober? And that right there changes their long-term homelessness potential, right? Mm-hmm. That's how we end homelessness, is that I was at Matsu Regional Hospital doing a consult for someone challenged with alcohol use last night, and the nurse at the floor I was entering said 40% of the people that were in the hospital at that time were there for alcohol-related something. And I said, does that include opiates and other drugs? And she said, no, that's just alcohol. And so just imagine if half of the population is there for that particular reason, and we can start impacting those numbers long term for the Valley. That's a huge, huge health measure. That's how we change our community. That's how we make our community better.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, we can't talk our way out of the problem. We've been trying for decades. Right? That is what traditional behavioral health care looks like.
Yeah.
Groups, one-on-ones, come to this building. We're going to teach you some coping skills. We're going to talk about some stuff, right? And don't get me wrong. There's value. I needed to learn how to address my trauma. I needed to learn coping skills around my anger. I needed to, to address things and learn new skills. However, we're missing the boat if that's all we're doing. And so True North and what you do here at My House, I mean, we are building around housing, education, employment, and natural community supports. Mm-hmm. Right? What we know about chronic homelessness, addiction, mental health issues, is we know that these are chronic issues, and we can't treat them acutely. There's no graduation certificate that comes at the end. Not for me anyway. I know that I'm going to have to take measures in my life every day for the rest of my life to assure my recovery, right? And so when we're setting people up to be stably housed, to be educated, to be employed, to build resources and connections and relationships outside of treatment or outside of services, they're a million times more likely to be successful, right? And I'm tired of this idea that we're just going to talk our way out of it. We're not, right? We have to walk alongside folks. I love your motto, a hand up, not a handout, right? Because that says to me, we're going to do this together, right? We're in it for the long haul. We'll put in some work, and so will you, and we'll accomplish some things that are tangible, right? I can't tell you how many coping skills I've learned, but if I'm still sleeping in my car and trying to figure out where I'm eating, I'm not going to be able to actualize those new skills.
Well,
That's right.
in my short time in the nonprofit world, just that idea of action versus talk, it's crazy to me. The biggest difference with the organizations that I see that are accomplishing things are the ones that are solution focused and outcome focused, and don't just want to sit around and talk about the problem. They want to get their hands dirty, get down into the muck, and help lift people out, help people lift themselves out of the situations that they're in. I mean, man, like the phrase talk is cheap. I think I've said it more times in the last 4 months working here than I ever had in my entire life. But that idea of being solution focused and getting your hands dirty, that seems so foreign in this, and I don't want to say industry, but kind of industry, nonprofits and with some addiction recovery and some homeless services. Like I think a lot of organizations see it as a business, and because they see it as a business, they're looking at how can we get more grant money, and how can we move out and swallow up these other areas and take over so that we get more money for ourselves, for our services, instead of finding a way to work together like True North and like My House does to get solutions and get outcomes. It just blows me away. And that's why I think that you guys have been so successful.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate it. We've got to look at like what our community needs, what our people need, right? And all of our missions are great, but when somebody walks in the front door, we need to ask them what's their mission. And so often we think we've got solutions that are going to work for everybody, when in reality, people oftentimes just need an ear. They need a little bit of support. They need some guidance. They need, really simple stuff. I need a ride, right? I need some. I can't go job hunting until I can take a shower and put on some fresh clothes. It'd be really great if someone can teach me some skills around how to interview, when I've had lots of gaps in my employment. Mm-hmm. That's what peer support does, and it often happens on the road, out in the community, right? Every single person that's listening to this podcast is absolutely affected by the clients here at My House, the clients out at True North. They are in your communities. They are in your stores, your restaurants. They are your neighbors. They're in your kids' schools. They are everywhere. They are you, and you are them, right? Yes. And so until we can decide that we want to be a part of the solution, we're gonna continue fighting the fight. I think of not to jump topics a little bit, but when we look at like reentry and recidivism, 95% of everybody incarcerated in Alaska is going to return to their communities. Right. We see 66% of folks get reincarcerated within their first year. As a community, we have to decide: do we want to punish people, or do we want to rehabilitate them? Right? Do we want to serve them, or do we want to punish them?
Right.
And oftentimes our system is established to punish folks. The problem with punishing them is it isn't going to change behavior. So when 95% of people get out and they steal your four-wheeler again, right, you're going to be mad at the system, when in reality we're the ones responsible for changing the landscape and the language around rehabilitation.
That's right.
Right? And
right.
The end goal is change behavior, right? And we don't change behavior by punishing people. We change behavior by supporting them and teaching them new coping skills and getting them plugged in and getting them resources, right, and supporting them along the journey,
Helping them be motivated to be better people.
Right.
That was one of my motives when I started My House. I said to my husband, I think we have to be better than this. We have to be better as individuals. We have to be better as a family. We have to be better as a community at doing the things that help people make our community a better place. And we're all in this together. I love what Governor Dunleavy said at our ribbon cutting. I mean, he stood up in front of everyone and said, this is not about us and them. This is about all of us. We're all in this together. There is no us and them. And I so appreciated that he really got it, right? He really got what we were saying and what we were doing. And I think that it's hard sometimes to, when we want to put people in boxes and categorize, it's hard to think about the fact that these people are interviewing for jobs at my business when I need people to go to work. You know, how long can you hold on to a stigma when you've got someone in front of you saying, those gaps in my employment, that was where I got better. And that was where I healed. And that was where I crashed and burned, but I came back strong. And I think we have to be better, you know, as a community. And that's been our focus from day one. If I can use your newest treatment name, facility name, that's been a focus, and I think that comes across to the clients, because it isn't about counting heads. It's not about, I don't like to think this, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I think that the model that has been used for sustainability was really about keeping people not getting better, because the more people you have in your program, the more money you get. When if we switch that, which is what you and I have talked about ad nauseum, and looked at outcomes, then the more people that you actually help get healthy and productive, the more funding you get, the more reinforcement you get, the more support you get for expanding, then we would change the culture. We would change the nonprofit culture with that. Backing up to detox again, you were talking about reentry. We either detox people in this community in hospitals and jails, or we detox them somewhere where they get plugged in to a healthy, supportive community of people that are all in recovery, that know that what you don't see in those music videos, when somebody's shaking and sweating and throwing up and miserable, that is part of the pathway to healing.
And these are hard conversations that need to be had, right? Our funding sources need to fund these projects, or else the community will. Right? Somebody's paying the bill. So if I can't get somebody's services today, they're absolutely going to show up in the emergency department costing 10 times as much.
That's right.
Or they're going to wind up in the Department of Corrections, and that costs all of us taxpayers a ton of money, right? And so, if we can stand up these services and our funders can get behind these kind of projects, we can reduce the overall spending for our state. And so every taxpayer, every citizen of Alaska is paying for these services one way or another. Right. And what we need to do is we need to be thinking about how to create positive solutions and outcomes that change behavior, rather than waiting for the calamity to happen and it costing the state exorbitant amount of money. It seems like a no-brainer sometimes, but we've got all of these priorities, and politics getting in the mix of it all sometimes. But at the end of the day, our organization, your organization, we're just going to keep pushing forward. You mentioned the Day One Center, and it really kind of hinges on what you do here at My House. We have to be ready when they walk in the front door. My House is a drop-in center, so if you're struggling and you're out there, you can walk in right now as we're talking. Right?
That's right.
There's opportunity here at any given time. So when someone says I need help, we're ready. Yeah. And for us in behavioral health, it's the same token. When somebody says, all right, I'm done, I need to get sober, that window of opportunity is small. And we can't tell them, go get your insurance cards and your IDs and fill out some applications and we'll see you in 4 weeks.
While they're shaking and sweating and throwing up and trying not to use, right?
Yeah, they're going to go to Walmart and steal some stuff and wind up in jail that costs $50,000 to $100,000 a year.
Right. I just published our annual report in March, and one of the statistics in there was, and Jim Rogers, who is my chief of staff and ex-military data geek, Jim Rogers figured all this out, and including housing, per client, it costs us $9 and change a day to provide services. That includes housing. I mean, we don't have enough housing, but but that pays for all of our housing right now as well. And to go to jail, it's $479 a day. That's the difference. That's the quantifiable difference. And the Day One Center, I'm so excited about this Day One for several reasons. One, because we've got an outreach coordinator that can go pick people up. You can call 373-HELP and say, I'm homeless and I need help and I'm trying to get there, but I need a ride, and we'll send someone to come and get you. You're getting ready to launch a mobile crisis team that we got an ambulance donated for, which I'm so excited about this ambulance. I don't know, it for some reason that's like made it official, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the vehicle, we can go. But the mobile crisis team being out and keeping police and EMTs from having to deal with issues, crisis stabilization issues that are behavioral health and addiction related, that your team could go and address with them and put them in the ambulance and take them to treatment. I mean, that is so life-saving. That is so exciting. The Day One Center, the drop-in center where they can go. Ultimately, the goal is 23-hour crisis stabilization there. So you keep them there for long enough to triage what they have going, and then ultimately to detox if they need detox. This is how we save lives. This is how we do it. There's a continuum, and we get this opportunity, that moment in time where they say, I'm sick and I'm tired and I'm ready to get help, and we can do it right then. And I'm so excited about that piece of this continuum. That's what we dreamed about in 2015 when you were a college intern, and you've built the infrastructure to be able to manage that and make it a pathway to treatment. And I'm just blown away and so excited about that potential. We will get that funded because it's the right thing to do.
Amen. Yeah. Oh, we've had lots of great people around us. Erin's still over here in the corner, and she's one of those great people that manages all the finances and grant reporting and all of our administrative stuff. And
oh my God, she's incredible.
yeah, we'd be pretty lost without her. You know, I one of my mentors said there's a difference between a leader and a manager, right? A leader goes out there dreaming, and a manager reels you back in and helps you make it real.
Right.
Yeah,
Helps you sign on the dotted line, cross the T and dot the I. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, we'd be out there 24/7 just trying to put people in houses if we had our way. But you know, the reality is we just don't have enough services for the need in our community. You know, and so building around that is necessary.
Yeah.
We have to be able to say yes right now.
I remember when Karl found that building for the Day One Center, and he was like, we're going to get this building. And I'm like, what are we going to do with it? And he goes, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. And I was like, okay, we're going to just, all right, let's just spend some money that we're not doing anything with, but we'll figure it out. We'll get it done. We'll get it done. And he calls me. I swear it had to have been like 11 o'clock at night. I know what we're going to do with that building, and we're calling it Day One Center. And I was like, Day One Center? I don't understand why he's saying Day One Center. And then he explained it to me, and I was like, that is amazing, and I love it. And when do we start? And what do you need me to do? What grant do I need to write? Like, what do we need to do to make this work? Like, let's get this going. And it's been really cool to see just some of the tours that we've taken through, and just trying to get some people on board with helping get it started and going, and just the eyes and the oohs and the ahs that come with it. And we wouldn't be where we are without Karl's crazy brain that never stops moving and constantly is coming up with a new idea.
Truth.
Yeah.
So true. So true. And without you, I mean, Erin, you for this whole time have been grown with the organization to, you know,
has literally done every job there is, from direct services to case management to office management to now being our CFO. You know, that's the beauty of you know, places like ours, Michelle. True North and My House, like, it is personal for all of us, and it truly matters. You know,
yeah.
And when 5 o'clock comes at the end of the day, you know, our team is rallied around the last person that walked in the door. You know, we're spending time with folks. We never say no. We're always ready to go because it really matters. These are our family members, our friends, you know, and it's personal at every level of our organization.
I just have to confess that I so love your team and my team, because I texted you at 9:30 last night. I text you all hours of the day and night. I'm texting my team on weekends and outside.
You texted him 20 minutes before this recording. I'd like to point out this was not our guest for today. And man.
And Karl just zipped over, right? I was like, yeah, I'll come do that.
Yeah,
and
we say yes. We take opportunities to help.
yes. And so I love that attitude of we, try to say yes instead of no, and putting the client first and the client needs first. And I really feel honored and blessed, and I'm so excited about the things that are coming up, and that little piece, that day one fits into the whole community continuum. It's going to be life-changing. It already is life-changing, just the idea that it's there. But I think that attitude of, you're never really done. You're done when all the people are safe, right? And so I think that's a nice way to kind of wrap up. And thank you both for being willing to come on short notice and join with us. I hope this won't be the only time, because I'd love to talk more about some of the other things and philosophies but that's all the time we have for today, Isaac tells me. So thank you, Karl, and thank you, Erin, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Being our guest. The My House podcast is recorded at the My House studio in Wasilla, Alaska. And thank you to our producer and editor, Isaac Smolden. I'm Michelle Overstreet. Until next time.